Hey everybody, Adam Silverman here from Muletown Digital. And today we're talking about 10 potential reasons why your website may not be converting. Just to clear up conversion. So a conversion is when somebody visits your business or organization website and they take some sort of action. Could be a major conversion like they buy something from you or sign up for a subscription or call you. It could be a contact form. And it could be a micro conversion, like they sign up for your newsletter, or they sign up for some downloadable, or they go to a specific page. So conversion is basically, for our purposes today, taking action. If your website has what we call a high bounce rate, which is where people visit and then leave, it's because they're not getting something when they get there that they were looking for. And so they left. And so there are lots of times where businesses will get lots of traffic, but they have low conversion. And I want to talk through why that happens and why it might be happening to you, and then kind of what you can do about it. So the first big thing, and I'm going to try and show some examples on my screen here today. The first big thing is speed. If your website is slow, you will tend to have a much higher exit rate than if your website loads quickly. So you can use a tool like GT Metrics or Google Page Insights, and I have other videos and blog posts talking about this a lot, but a slow website loses people. So you can run your website through, and I did a couple in here just so you could see, like one of GitHub sites, Gizmodo, and you can see how it grades them. Now, when I actually click, you'll notice that one loads pretty extremely quickly, and then it kind of fades things in as I go, but it's a very, very fast feeling load. Gizmodo, it's not as fast. You can see it's still going, it's loaded, and I can do things on here, but it's slower feeling, right? It's got a lot more going on. There's lots of ads, there's tons and tons of stuff on this page, and you could tell it's still kind of trying to load, and it just felt slower. Now, that doesn't mean Gizmodo won't convert or isn't successful, because it is, but you want to make sure that giving yourself that leg up involves that website loading very, very quickly for the user. That's going to help you keep people there and help you get them through your website quickly. The second thing that we see a lot is really confusing navigation. And I don't spend a lot of time on Zara.com. I've never been here, but I found this looking through some examples on the internet of websites with confusing nav. And this one has some real confusing navigation for me. So like there is navigation up under the logo, which is just, to me, extremely confusing. And if you load the page and don't touch anything, like if I cleanly load this, there is nothing there. So the only thing it gives you are these, and I don't know how to shop. Now, if I start scrolling, it eventually does put that other nav in there, but your menu is really over here. So if I happen to be looking for, let's go with a leather jacket. If I'm here, you can kind of see, again, there's no extra nav. I can't get anywhere else. And that's going to create a problem for, navigating this website. It makes it hard to use. Again, do they sell things? I'm sure they sell tons of things, but if they made it in you that was easier to follow, most likely they would convert better. And we see this a lot with both e-commerce and service businesses, where just a really bad, yucky navigation makes a website really difficult to follow, and therefore people will not stay there. And so you lose those conversions. The third thing here would be confusing calls to actions, or no calls to actions, or like no priority on a page. So when I look at Matte Cosmetics, and again, I don't spend a lot of time on this website, but when I look here, I don't know what to do because everything feels weighted the same. Like these are trendy products that I can roll through. Here's different categories. There's all these black and white buttons. Like nothing stands out to me that I should go here. The only thing is the sale page. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe they are literally trying to get me to go into the sales page, and that's what they're looking for. you see this join loyalty, but it's very random. And then as I'm moving around, you can see how the user experience gets really messy because now it thinks I want to navigate and I'm accidentally scrolling these things and loading my menu up. So having confusing calls to action and user flow is another way that your website can lose conversion. This website gets picked on a lot in the internet world and probably should be picked on a lot. It's really quite terrible, but it's a good example of not having your website be mobile friendly at all. So if I were on an iPhone, and usually I can see the device here, but for some reason it's not showing me. Anyway, if you were able to see the device frame on here, you would see this is an iPhone view and can't even read it, right? Like I had to scroll in here to even be able to see what's on the screen. You want to make sure your mobile website is really, really strong. You want to make sure that it is clean and that people can use it and navigate it. That's a really, really important thing that you want to do. I had an example here of the opposite of what I'm about to talk about, but one thing that will also get you in trouble is not having trust signals. Trust signals can be something like, if I use our website as an example, trust signals can be things like clients like that we've worked with. This creates trust. Having client testimonials creates trust. Having badges and partnership accreditations and things like that create trust. Warby Parker does this in a little bit of a different way, and the way that they do all of their story stuff in here is done really, really well. So they offer these public reports about their team and their stores and all their stuff. This is another way that you can go about building trust. Not having any of this stuff around makes people question a business. So it's like, for example, if you're a construction company, but you don't show any examples of your actual houses, that is a no trust signal. That means you're not signaling trust. You're creating confusion there. You want people to see your stuff and trust you. And this website, when you get into it, it looks very trustworthy. It looks very legit. And on this one, they don't have a whole lot of like testimonials just straight up on the pages. But, as you start driving into stuff and digging in, they just have honestly, their site, there's just so much volume that you immediately are like, wow, this is amazing. But they do on all their products have these reviews. And that is another, again, it's like, this looks very legit. And because it's not all 5 stars, it's definitely worth checking out these reviews, and it makes you trust this business. Another problem you could have is not having what we call a unique selling proposition or a value proposition. Your website is just a blob of information. There's no catch, hook. There's no helpings, single moms get their kids to school, helping families with water damage get their life back. There's no USP. And when you don't have that, people hit this and go, I don't know what I'm looking at. And if they are confused and they don't know what they're looking at, they'll leave. So the opposite of that would be having strong, like, you belong here, if statements, particularly on your homepage, are really, really valuable things to create trust and to create a connection with the visitor. If you don't have that connection, again, a lot of times they'll just roll out and you won't be able to get them through to whatever you're trying to get them to do to convert. This is an example of having entirely too much content on a page. Like, now these are really confusing because I can't even tell what I'm clicking on here, but this is a problem. And some businesses suffer from what we call SEO bloat, where they have pages and pages and pages that are just these massive walls of text. that provide no value or context for the user. It's just regurgitated content so that Google sees it and goes, oh, like, look, they're talking about, UTVs for kids or whatever, right? You don't want to do that. Keyword and content bloat is a really good way to lose your ranking. But also on top of that, it confuses people and it makes for a bad user experience and they will end up leaving. Another thing to look at is not having ways to capture users. So Dave Ramsey's website does a really good job of doing this, particularly in their tools. So when you dig through into their, free tools, a lot of these things will offer you a lot of information and offer you how to do all these things. And then ultimately what it's trying to do is get you to some sort of assessment. And inside of here, they're eventually going to capture your name and email and all of your information. If your website doesn't have a way to capture someone without an extreme step, you're probably missing out on chances to capture leads on the website. So by extreme, I mean, if you force them to buy something to get their information, you might be missing people that aren't quite ready to buy your thing. They're looking, but they might sign up to get a guide for how to do something or how to plan their project. Or if you were, say, a landscaping company, it might be a guide on choosing the right landscaping provider or the right trees for the right kind of property or whatever it is. Something that is a conversion that's not a full-blown conversion. Dave's site does a particularly good job of having lots of tools. It's something we're constantly working on getting, more free tools and more things for people to get where they don't have to go full on, I want to marry you, but they're interested in seeing more about you. So that's an example of having some lead capture. Another thing is a confusing checkout process. And I was a big fan of IKEA. I'm sure their furniture is great. We had some at the office for a while, whatever. It's fine company and it's wonderful. But their checkout is extremely confusing. Like the way that they do this, and it's a stupid thing, but they've got all these different options to pay. They look like you can click them, but you can't. You got to go in there to continue to check out. If I want to go as a guest, I can do it. But look at the way that this thing gets set up. It's just confusing. So it's like, it's already got my zip code and my delivery options, but it's telling me like to show them. Well, if I click on this, it's going to just reload the same thing. It's super confusing. And what likely happens here is people go, oh, okay. And that weird blue button, it's not a great experience. And if I were to fill this out further, you'd see it gets even more complicated when it gets down into the payment section. It won't let me go because I did fill out all my stuff. But making a long checkout process or having confusion around buying or signing up for something. Like we've seen before, people have websites where they have hidden fields that are required with no data in them. Well, then you can't send the form and it makes it really confusing for people. And if they're confused or if it's slow, they're just going to stop and be like, well, now I'm confused. Is it delivering to me? Do I have to go pick it up? Like, you want your checkout process to be clear. And IKEA is a huge company. And believe me, I'm sure they've looked at this. I think when your brand gets to the size of companies like this, they stop paying attention to these little things. And those little things stack up to cost you money in the end for sure. And finally, having a website with no Google Analytics, no conversion rate checkers, no heat mapping, no nothing to see how people interact with your website is another way to lose conversions. And it's an indirect way to do it. So it's not going to immediately cost you on the front end, but what happens is there's no data for you to make decisions with. So you decide, oh, I want to change my color from purple to green. Well, if you make that change and you're tracking data and your sales, or like in our case, our call bookings, for example, drop from 50 a month to 6, we could probably go, whoa, like there's a massive drop in our conversion, and we change the color of everything. You want to be able to track and know and understand that data. If you don't have your Google Analytics data, or you don't have some sort of heat mapping or something like that installed, it can be really, really easy for you to make really bad decisions about what you're doing because you just frankly don't know, right? You don't know what is happening. And because you don't know, you make emotional or feeling decisions on a website, and making feeling decisions in the world of data is a really good way to lose money. So you want to make sure that you're tracking user behavior, that you're using your Google Analytics, that you're checking things like Search Console. If you don't have data, you don't have much in the world of the internet. And so you always want to make sure that you're capturing data across any platform that you can, and particularly with your website. It will help you adjust your site to convert better. An example would be if you know that lots and lots of people are visiting a particular blog post, you might make more blogs around that. You might put a downloadable there. You might put products on that page. It basically is like knowing I got a billboard on a road where there's 18,000 vehicles every morning. If you know that, it's quantifiable, and you can then make decisions based on that understanding. If you don't have the data, there are no decisions to make because you don't have anything to actually look at. So I'm going to recap: website speed, website navigation, calls to actions, mobile experience, trust signals, value proposition, content amount, lead capture, checkout process, and analytics and data are the big things to pay attention to if you want your website to convert better. I hope for some of you out there, this is helpful stuff and useful. Let me know if we can do anything to help you with your business. We'll be happy to do it. I appreciate everybody's feedback. I've gotten a lot of really awesome social media responses about some of these videos. So I'm glad that it's helping people. If you're stuck and you don't know what to do, check out our website. We're going to end up having this year lots of different analysis that we can do to help people figure out the best steps forward. So let us know if we can do that. Thank you.